Alright guys, I decided to make a little tech tip video to try to help some people out with specifically pertaining to spark and intake air temps on boosted cars. Seeing lots of instances lately, especially since these Kong blowers have come out, but seen it for a long time on lots and lots of air to water cooled combos especially. As intake air temps go up from compressing the air more and more, your air charge is more volatile and it means it needs less timing. What I'm seeing in lots of cases, people are having issues like they had to hot lap the car, couldn't ice down the tank, back-to-back pulls, seeing really high intake air temps, or sometimes it's an issue where the cooling system's not that great, or say the EMP water pump failed, and now you're not pushing water through the brick, and intake air temps go through the roof. The calibrator typically says, oh, well, this wouldn't have been an issue. You torched that gasket, or you melted that piston, or because your pump failed. Well, yeah, that may have been what caused it, but the fact of the matter is that only happened because you did not take the time to get into this IAT table, the IAT base table here. This table is specifically for safety and making sure we're getting spark advance out as intake air temps go up. So if we click on this table, typically they look a little bit different, but this is how I set them up. Wherever you find your max timing at whatever intake air temp you are running at, that's most of the time going to be your zero. And then you want to start pulling directly above that. In most cases, I start pulling about 130 degrees, 131 degrees on most cars. And typically I like to have about 10 degrees out by 200. The smartest thing to do is set it up close like that, or use your max timing number at your IAT that you had as your zero. And then whatever point you find is the area that you should never go above unless you have a failure or an issue, above that, I like to pull a ton of timing out. So if you look over here, we are negative 25, 26 degrees at 221. Because on this combo, if we ever see 220, something's wrong. And in cases where you're 20, 25, 28 pounds of boost and a water pump fails, when your EMP pumps fail, intake air temps will actually rise faster than the IAT sensor can register. So you don't want to just be steadily pulling linear because that sensor might not be keeping up. I had one combo recently where, everything was fine, but as soon as we started doing full pulls, those intake air temps went up so fast that we let off, valve opens, all the air's going out, we're coasting down, and the intake air temps are still going up for another half a second because that sensor just could not keep up. So going really, really big on the timing pull in an area that you shouldn't see, one, it helps you out for that delay in the sensor, but two, it lets the driver know something's wrong. If it's a close race, they're not really, really in touch with the car, and that pump fails, they might not let out if it's not pulling a ton of timing. But 26 degrees out at a point where it shouldn't be, that is going to make that car nose over, and the driver's going to say, oh shit, something's wrong. Let's let out. And then they can go inspect the issue and they didn't burn anything down. The other really important part of this are the multiplier tables. So we've got multiplier 1, multiplier 2. Multiplier 1 from the factory, it's got some zeros in the middle. A zero multiplier means that other table is not active. It is not pulling any timing in this range from 68 to 104. I typically just 1.0 that whole table, so our base table is pulling exactly what we want it to. Now here's the kicker that I had an issue on a remote tune the other night. A little turbo truck we were doing. He was doing some work between revisions. He did not plug his coolant temp sensor back in. And he went and did a log, went and did a boost pull. Well, on that specific operating system, this negative and low coolant temp range, the multiplier was 0. So when that sensor was unplugged, it was reading in this range. So not only did it add a couple degrees of timing because it thought it had coolant temps, but it also put it in this 0 multiplier table, which means that his 170 degree intake air temps, our IAT table could pull nothing. So you've got to make sure our IAT base table is pulling timing where we want, and you put a safety measure in, and our multiplier tables are going to let it do that.